I'm Kurt Sepmeier. I currently work at Performance Music in the Fine Arts Building in Chicago. The Fine Arts Building is quite an important landmark in Chicago. It's one of the oldest structures. It's one of the few buildings that has kept its antiquity. You still have the original hand-operated elevators. You still have the original designs and paint. It was once a carriage factory, but in 1911, after the part of the factory caught fire, it was bought up and reconverted into what is now the cultural landmark for arts and music throughout the Chicago area. I've been into music for almost my whole life so far, and that all started with playing the saxophone. I wanted to do that since I was young. In fact, my inspiration came from The Simpsons, listening to Lisa Simpson and her baritone sax. Really? Teaching? Yeah. Performance Music is a sheet music and music supply store. My job there is simply a lot of basic work of keeping music in stock, making sure everything is filed and organized, attending to customers who themselves are either amateur musicians to people who are working in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra.
So nice and humid.
Unfortunately, we're one of the last sheet music stores remaining within Chicago, if not the whole Midwest. For some reason, the sheet music industry is diminishing.
Get the homeless stuff, and then there's orders to enter a home. Pick those out later.
Yeah, there are a lot of orders. Performance music actually got its start as a one-room area that sold nothing but recorders and recorder music. And to recorder players and the Recorder Society, it's whom we have our closest and oldest ties. Since There's No Help, by Michael Drayton. Since there's no help, come, let us kiss and part. Nay, I have done, you'll get no more of me, and I am glad, yea, glad with all my heart, that thus so cleanly I myself can free. Shake hands forever, cancel all our vows, and when we meet at any time again, be it not seen in either of our brows that we one jot of former love retain. Now, at the last gasp of love's latest breath, when his pulse failing, passion speechless lies, when faith is kneeling by his bed of death, and innocence is closing up his eyes, now, if thou wouldest, when all have given him over, from death to life thou mightst him yet recover. I got interested in the Renaissance period as soon as I entered music school in Pueblo, Colorado. We took a course on general music history, and once we got to the Renaissance period, everything just dominoed from one after the other. I fell into, from the music, I went straight to the lyrics, and then fell into the poetry, and then just fell into the whole era. I chose Drayton Since There's No Help after I discovered it after a breakup I had with a woman I was seeing since high school. Saw her for about a year. After a year, she moved to New Mexico, and I moved to Chicago, but we kept our relationship strong, long distance-wise. Telephone calls about every week, and every few months we'd see each other. However, it was quite hard to keep up. That is largely because of our situations. It was obvious I was not going to come back to New Mexico to go where she was, and it was obvious that she really didn't want to leave New Mexico and her culture. So eventually, we knew it was futile. But then we'd call each other again, we'd see each other again, and it was back on. All of a sudden, our feelings were fresh again, and all reasonings of why it really shouldn't and wasn't going to go on were diminished. So finally, about now 2 years ago, she and I finally stopped talking. That's just the way it happened. The last conversation was, I'm at a family junction. Can I talk to you another day? And mine was, where? Sure. What time? And haven't heard from her since. About 2 weeks after we broke up, that was when I discovered this poem of Drayton's Since There's No Help. And I remember discovering and reading it and just feeling that this poem perfectly surmised exactly what I had been feeling throughout the whole 4 years. That is, since there's no help, can let us kiss and part. That is, admitting that there is no hope that this relationship is going on, reciting the reasons, admitting to myself that I am emotionally done. Shake hands forever, cancel all our vows, and when we meet at any time again, be it not seen in either of our brows that we one jot of former love retain. The middle part was something left in the air. It was implicit. It was something I'd hoped to say, but never could. That is, it was one of me wanting to say, I really want to move on. Now, if thou wouldest, when all have given him over, from death to life, thou mightst him yet recover. I've had time to settle. I've had time to meditate on it and move on. So at this point, the poem for me sits as a landmark for how I once felt in my past.